Hey everyone, it's George LaRocque. Welcome back to Work Tech. There was an announcement today that really struck me because it gets at the root of how fast things are changing in the market, how important it is to have the right data when you're making critical business decisions. And it gets into things like compensation and pay equity and fairness. And the announcement was made by Compa, and we've got the CEO and founder of Compa, Charlie Franklin, with us. Welcome, Charlie.
Thank you, George. Great to be here.
I almost called you by your last name there. Sorry about that. Don't want to steal any of your thunder. Why don't we start with an introduction? In case anyone doesn't know you or Compa and what you do, and then we'll dig right into the announcement.
That sounds good. Yeah. Hey, everyone. My name is Charlie Franklin. I'm co-founder and CEO of Compa. And I spent the first decade of my career in HR, primarily focused on compensation. I was most recently at Workday prior to leaving to found Compa. And Compa is a compensation software startup. And our mission is to make compensation fair and competitive for everyone. And our announcement today is about bringing a new source of market data out to enterprise compensation professionals for fast-changing markets.
Yeah, and I think it's got a really cool name. You want to tell everybody what that is?
Yeah, it's called Compa Index. We think of it as like you're indexing the enterprise labor market.
And so tell us about the real-time market data. Like what do I get access to in this index and all of that?
Yeah, so what we're doing differently here is we're looking at a new source of data to measure compensation in the marketplace, and that's job offers. So historically, comp folks are relying on surveys or other data sources that are based on employees, people in seats. And the challenge with that is the data fundamentally lags because companies only update employee pay once, maybe twice a year. What we're turning to is job offers as a measure of actual market activity in the same way that if you look at housing market data, for example, you're looking at houses that were purchased and sold. And so we connect to our customers' applicant tracking systems and bring out verified, accepted, and rejected offers and aggregate those to produce a new source of market data that is fresher, more real-time, even more predictive than what comp folks have had in the past.
Yeah, you had a great line in your post about this, which we'll share the link in the notes. But you said, imagine you're responsible for buying over $1 billion in stock, but using only last year's prices. And that, I think that really is such a metaphor. Like that's what folks are doing. And we've talked before. I go way back to when I was running a desk as a recruiter. We would go and open up these massive binders, and it was the salary survey data, and we had to manually align the job with the pay range and find the midpoint. And we would take that in to the hiring manager and then just pay what the candidate wanted to get them. What's it going to take to get this engineer? And the value of this is so incredible. So why the offer data? Tell us some of like what you're seeing and hearing and how this is impacting decisions.
Yeah, so when we talk about comp people making $1 billion+ to spend each year with last year's prices, historically, lagging survey data was good enough. The markets didn't move that fast. But over the past 2 years in particular, compensation leaders have really been flying blind as the markets have become more volatile with the shift to remote work, inflation, great resignation, pay transparency laws. There's so much change, and you can think of these as sort of these multiple simultaneous shocks to how comp people are trying to set pay practices, all in the context of a world where data is proliferating and there's fundamentally more accountability expected around how companies make pay decisions. And so the effect is they've been flying blind and they're commanding gigantic spend and advising to the committees on boards without having proper data. And so Compa has really struck a chord with leaders at large companies like NVIDIA, DoorDash, um, Instacart, where they're trying to set pay strategies, particularly around stock compensation, where the market's changing fast. And so I'd say probably the number one thing that's really become a fast use case of this product for these folks is figuring out that stock-based compensation. If you look at like an average tech company's stock price over the last year, you're going to see a roller coaster chart,
Right.
a big rise and then a big fall for most companies. And the effect is very difficult to know how much stock you can or need to grant to your employees with respect to managing cost efficiently, remaining competitive, even as the markets come down, but then also obviously just ensuring that you're paying fairly at scale, and pay equity and pay transparency are these massive countervailing trends to an otherwise downtrending market. And so Compa provides a clearer, more precise, more real-time view of what's happening with stock-based compensation by focusing on job offers.
Yeah. Um, and the fact that it's not just the salary, but you're looking at stock and really the total package, that's critical. So you had some really interesting data. You have a visual about, what's happened in the market. Can you speak to some of that, the like in real time? I mean, you just addressed a bit of it, but what were some of the things that you saw as, I'll use your term, as the market crashed in 2023?
Yeah. So the data, when compensation leaders see Compa Index for the first time, they almost can't believe it because the market is moving so fast. I cite an example in my blog post announcing our product regarding software engineering compensation. So when we look at the data currently, we're seeing the first year total compensation package, so all the pay elements rolled up that are deliver value in the first year, is down 13% year to date. And over the last 12 months is down 45%. And that's a huge decline. And typically compensation moves around 2 or 3 percentage points a year. Most of that's driven by those new hire grants, the stock compensation. Those values are down 57% since this time last year. And by the way, that's based on the target value of a grant. So it's not a reflection of declining stock prices. It's actually a reflection of changing pay practices. We also see signing bonuses dropping significantly. So in kind of the go-go markets of 21 and early 22, it was very common for high in-demand technical talent to get some kind of a signing bonus to unstick them from their current job. We've seen that drop over the last year from 71% of offers, including a signing bonus, to just 22%. And then maybe most interesting in the data, because we're looking at offers, we get these other metadata insights that can give some predictive insight into where the market's going. And specifically, I point to offer acceptance rates. So because we bring in both accepted and rejected offers, we can see what the market acceptance rate is. And during this same time period over the last year, as compensation has come down 45%, offer acceptance rates have risen by 11 percentage points. So that suggests that there's still some softness in the market, that we haven't hit bottom yet, because as people are looking for new jobs, they're willing to accept less and less. So possibly more challenging times ahead. That's certainly what our data suggests. And in any case, whether the market's moving up or moving down, I think just looking to a source of data like this is going to serve comp teams who are meeting with their boards, 5-6 times a year, trying to provide updates on where the market's going next, so they can make sure that their pay strategy is aligned.
Right. And that data that you just referenced, that was software engineering. So you could be looking at a different category of job within the same environment and have very different data, or you could be in a different industry and have a completely different view. And again, by job or job category, if you will. So how do I obviously call Compa. How do I get involved? But what does it take as a business for me to participate in this index?
Yeah, so Compa Index uses a give to get model, which is familiar to any compensation team that's participated in surveys.
Yep.
The reason we do this is really to build trust. You're joining a network by contributing to it. And so the way you participate, obviously, you can give our team a call. We'll show you how the product works. But when it comes to onboarding, we'll go through a security and privacy review process with your procurement team. We have the highest security standards in the world. We pass the most secure programs of any company in the world to ensure that your data is safe. When your data connects to Compa, the most important thing that we do is we structure and enrich the data sitting in the applicant tracking system. So compensation teams rely on market data to be leveled and matched. We do that. Compa has its own standard job architecture. We'll do that for you during onboarding. And then when the system is turned on for you, you can sort of manage and change, if you'd like, your matches in Compa Index. So that's how you have confidence in knowing this is an apples to apples job, an apples to apples level. So once your data is hooked up, you actually get two things. You get that real-time market data based on offers, but you also get a view into your own offer history. And interestingly, this is something that's been a real challenge for lots of compensation teams who just don't have enough visibility into their own internal offer history. So if you want to understand things like, hey, what did we spend on signing bonuses over the last couple quarters? Or who are our top companies that we source talent from, and what's our win rate against them? And should we be thinking about this differently? So that's what it takes to participate. You go through an onboarding process. We hook up to your ATS. It's fairly easy. Then we structure and enrich your data, and you get access to new analytics on your own internal offers. And then, of course, real-time market data based on offers.
Yeah. And that's, there's the community aspect, the security aspect, and the sort of participation here. But one of the things that and this has been a Compa message from day one when we first started talking, you're pulling compensation out of the back office and onto the recruiter's desk. I mean, that example you just gave, how much are we spending on, whether it's sign-on bonuses or, the offers that are made. It's there's so many things in HR and recruiting where we all wait until the end of the year, get the reports, and pretend that we're surprised, right? Oh my God, we spent so much in fees. And well, we administered those sign-on bonuses. Oh, look how much we spent, and
Yeah.
but it's the definition of insanity, and this sort of transparency and bringing both constituencies together at the time of offer via data. There's no more surprise, right? We're watching in real time. So that really strikes me as something huge value. And how does this fit into the overall Compa platform? How can you speak to that a little bit?
Yeah, definitely. Yeah. So Compa, we founded the company on the fundamental idea that offers have been overlooked in terms of their economic impact on the business, their ability to drive talent strategy, and of course, pay equity and fairness, both by the talent acquisition and compensation teams. And so with this new product, Compa Index, it introduces a clear way for compensation teams to participate in understanding what their recruiters see in the market every day. When I was a compensation leader, in retrospect, I think it's crazy that I didn't spend enough time with recruiters to actually know where the market was going. Instead, I just relied on compensation surveys as this indirect source of intelligence. And so Compa Index think of it as like a seat for the compensation team and understanding offers. This complements our existing offerings in the market that really serve talent acquisition teams and recruiters as a sort of deal desk for recruiters to understand their pay guidelines, capture pay expectations from candidates to build up an intelligence database, and of course, create offers and get them approved. And so all of this fits into the broader narrative of the world is becoming more pay transparent. And yes, that means there's lots of new legislation that's coming online, But bigger picture than that, it's the shift from compensation being secretive and discretionary to more open and accountable, where differences in pay are objective and measurable at scale. And we believe that both talent acquisition teams and compensation teams need a new set of tools to ensure that that first decision, the offer, is made in a fair, competitive, and cost-effective way.
Yeah. There's an opportunity to for these employers to add value back to their candidates that they're making offers to as well. I mean, to have information not a year old or 6 months old, but to be able to reflect, look, this is what's happening in the market. This is our range. This is where you fit. Speaking of transparency, I mean, that's very powerful, because I know that that year-old data isn't all that effective when you're negotiating with a candidate or talking to a candidate. So while we look at this from the comp lens, from the company lens, I think the value goes both ways here.
Yeah, it definitely does. And, so obviously in California, New York, Washington, Colorado, a number of other states, you're required to disclose salary ranges on job postings now.
Right.
And we see this going national, and it's already implemented in many places around the world. The effect of this is you risk candidates and employees showing up at the table with more information about your pay practices than you have. They actually have
Right.
what feels like better information about the market. Increasingly, the conversations we're having with comp leaders today is the growing concern of comp misinformation, which is I can Google something or throw it into ChatGPT or Bard and find a pretty compelling argument for what I think I should be paid that doesn't necessarily reflect the strategy, positioning, philosophy of your organization. And so historically, it's been enough for comp teams to say, well, compensation is a bit art and science. Like, this is how we do things here. Tough. That has to change now, because you have to meet candidates and employees where they are with a higher level of accountability. So I think of Compa overall as a sort of enterprise solution, a set of professional tools for the era of pay transparency, where these teams really have a bigger role to play in building trust from the very beginning.
Yeah, I like that. A set of professional tools. That's excellent. So how do I learn more and get involved with this index?
Yeah, so you can visit Compa's website at trycompa.com to learn more about the product. You can check out our philosophy on how we think about data at Compa, how it compares to legacy surveys, and our overall perspective on why offers matter and what a modern market data stack looks like. We are exclusively offering Compa Index to enterprise technology companies right now. So if you are a compensation analyst or director or leader at an enterprise tech company, give us a call and you can learn more about it. If you're in a different industry but see a use case, you're welcome to contact us and we can talk about the possibility of expanding into your industry in the future. Or of course, leveraging our tool for recruiters and the talent acquisition team to manage offers in a fair and cost-effective manner. So easy to reach out. Go to our website. You're also welcome to find me on LinkedIn. Drop me a note if you like.
All right, great. Charlie, thank you so much for sharing this. I know it's a busy time and a busy day for you, and thanks for telling the story here at WorkTech.
Thank you, George. Thanks for having me on.
Yeah, and thanks everyone for watching or listening, and until next time.